Former President Ronald Reagan's Space Shuttle Challenger speech by Emily Reed. How many of you remember the historical event that occurred January 28, 1986? I remember as a schoolgirl watching the Space Shuttle Challenger and knowing that there was a teacher aboard. I remember watching it with my class and watching the tragedy unfold. Our 40th president, Ronald Reagan, handled it with a heartfelt and well-written speech. According to the American Rhetoric of 2015, Ronald Reagan stated, "It is truly a national loss." Through his speech, he shared the loss of the families of the Space Shuttle Challenger. The historical context of Ronald Reagan's speech, according to the American Rhetoric, was that it was the first time a space shuttle exploded in space, there was a teacher aboard, and it is the greatest space tragedy in U.S. history. The whole nation was watching the space shuttle due to the teacher being aboard. The speech is a lasting piece of rhetoric because Ronald Reagan gave the speech as part of the American people and as a great leader. The public speaking techniques that Ronald Reagan applied to make his speech successful were eye contact, pace, organization, and knowing his audience. According to the Art of Public Speaking by Stephen E. Lucas, eye contact, knowing your audience, pace, and organization are the fundamentals of public speaking. According to NASA History Office of 2004, Ronald Reagan knew his audience by addressing the entire nation and including school children. The emotions that Ronald Reagan evoked during his speech were compassion, sincerity, and resilience. By what he spoke and his facial expressions, you could see and hear that he meant every word. According to the American Rhetoric, he spoke with leadership. He led the country with compassion and mourning as he stated, "Today is a day of mourning and remembering." The audience that this speech was given to was the nation and the families of the victims. We were a grieving nation. According to the American Rhetoric, Ronald Reagan stated, "We know we share this pain with all the people of our country." When he spoke to the families of the victims, he spoke with comfort and pride. According to the American Rhetoric, Ronald Reagan stated, "For the families of the 7, we cannot bear as you do the full impact of this tragedy, but we feel the loss and we're thinking about you so very much. Your loved ones were daring and brave, and they had a special grace, that special spirit that says, 'Give me a challenge and I'll meet it with joy.'" It gave the nation and the families of the victims peace, comfort, and pride, knowing we had a great leader and a country to support them. As I watched this speech and remember watching the Space Shuttle Challenger that very tragic day, it gives me pride in my country and a sadness in the memories that took place that day. The techniques that I will take away from Ronald Reagan's speech are eye contact, pace, organization, and knowing my audience. These are the fundamentals of a great speech that former President Ronald Reagan executed. The impact this speech had on our nation was pride and comfort. Our nation can take pride in knowing that our leader felt what every person was feeling that day. He gave us comfort with his kind and compassionate speech. The techniques of great speech that can be learned from former President Ronald Reagan are eye contact, knowing your audience, pace, organization, and even dressing appropriately for your speech. These are all great fundamentals to a great speech that former President Ronald Reagan executed.